To start, we go over today what public policy actually means and a bit of an overview of the program. We'll then dive into the specifics of the program requirements. You'll get an opportunity to hear from some of our current public policy students and a chance to ask questions about the program. We are also joined today by Co-op to tell you a little bit about their program. So, if you couldn't tell from the slide, my name is Colin, and I'm the academic advisor for the public policy minor. I am an SFU alumnus myself. I did a major in criminology and a minor in political science. This minor didn't exist when I was an undergrad, but I definitely would have done it because I primarily focused on policy related courses myself. I've been working at the university for about 7 years now in areas from study abroad to engagement to academic advising. I'm also joined by Dr. Ali Bhagat, the director of the public policy minor. I'll hand it off to him to let him introduce himself and talk to you about the program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. As Colin mentioned, I'm Ali Bhagat and I direct the public policy minor. I'm also a professor in the School of Public Policy, where I basically teach the introductory courses, Policy 100 and 200, along with some of my other colleagues, as well as graduate level courses on race and equity. And my research broadly focuses on migration and refugee politics and policies. We'll just do a brief overview of kind of what you can expect in a public policy um, course, right? And I think a lot of people get sort of confused by what public policy is. And um, a lot of people attach public policy to meanings of really dry, I don't know, university policy or academic plagiarism or, I don't know, bylaws, something that always feels really unattainable and, it exists in the realm of boredom. And I want to use this time to clarify that public policy is actually really not that at all. What we focus on at our school is a range of real world policy problems, and we're also very solution driven. And we think about public policy as basically everything you touch when you get at that side of the world. It could be from roads, it could be from, how buildings operate, how the government operates on various scales, but also really cutting edge topics that all of us at the school focus on, such as climate change, cost of living crises and inflation, inequality, health policy, the toxic drug supply, forced labor and human trafficking, as well as my work on migration and refugee policy. And the idea is for you to turn your passion for, keeping in mind with SFU goals for a more equitable and sustainable world into meaningful and long-term change. And so what we focus on at the School of Public Policy is making you think critically about, how to implement justice or change or sustainable change in meaningful ways within constraints of whether it's the city, the province, the country, or the world. And could these changes that you want to see in the world actually be plausible? Could it happen? Is it worth pursuing? These are the questions that preoccupy us as policy scholars. So let's talk about specifically the public policy minor. Uh, I'm the kind of inaugural director. We launched this program together in fall 2023. It's highly interdisciplinary. The idea is that it accompanies existing social science degrees or sometimes even health science degrees in other faculties outside of FAS. But the idea is that, you have a really good critical education in political science or sociology or anthropology or even in the humanities, like let's say in English. And you really want to deepen your understanding of those topics in the kind of real world context, or you really have a passion for studying linguistics or English or literature or history even, and you want a degree that you could basically become more career ready for as you embark on completing your undergrad. So the reason the minor exists is that you can A, allow you to think very critically about your real world possible changes in programs that are social justice oriented or social science oriented, I should say. Thinking here about politics, criminology, etc. Or it can add value to your FAST degrees that are more humanities centered, that maybe aren't necessarily grounded in, finding a job in government or NGOs or the private sector. That's why the minor exists. It's like a really interesting and perhaps very useful add-on. And really, we want to think about how public policy skills and practical analysis can be developed in your undergraduate education. So you have diverse analytical and applied approaches, basically preparing you for policy positions in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. So yeah, these are some of our faculty members, Doctors Kennedy Stewart, Will Scott, and Leah Shipton. Kennedy Stewart has government experience, focuses on public policy theory and practice. Will Scott focuses on climate policy and energy systems modeling. Leah Shipton focuses on health policy and global health governance. These are just, a very brief spotlight. There's 13 other faculty members, myself included, but you can get a sense that our faculty blend academic experience with real world and hands-on experience out there as well, not whether in government or international policy or otherwise. We've had some really excellent past CPPR speakers. The CPPR is the Center for Public Policy Research that the School of Public Policy runs. So we had a couple of years ago Jagmeet Singh. Before the election, we've had Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, Brenda Bailey. You could see that what we try to do as a school is try to bring in people from that are either policy practitioners or politicians themselves, trying to give our students hands-on experience with the outer world, particularly in the Canadian context, but we also have had people in government from the US as well. So what can you do with the PPM? There's a growing demand for policy analysts and adjacent roles in from undergraduate students. This is based on the Canadian Labor Market Research and Faculty Network. We are, of course, pushing towards a major because we also believe that, you know, this is a new area where the government hires. Increasingly, master's students are seen as more expensive, and it's still good, right, to get a master's degree, and eventually you'll get paid more. But increasingly, we're finding that undergraduate students are able to break into lower level government jobs. So it's, opening the door not only for graduate school, but also for entry-level positions in government work and NGO sector. Basically, I mean, even if you end up going to graduate school, which I think many of you will, the idea is that you'll have the skills ready to think critically in all of these adjacent fields, including perhaps doing either a master's of public administration or a master's in public policy, or in political science, econ, criminology, sociology, public health, and so forth. Even if these courses sometimes feel really abstract, the idea of the PPM is to ground it in real world context to push you towards job readiness. Okay, I'll turn it over now to Colin for the structure of the public policy minor and some notes on advising, if you're interested in any further questions or in this program in general.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, as Ali mentioned, going to dive into the nitty-gritty of the program's requirements. So bear with me. There is a table at the end summarizing this all, and I know I'm going to throw a lot of information at once. So yeah, we require 30 overall units for the program, which I'll get to a little bit later. But 9 or 10 of the units that you need for the program are built in at the lower division, which means 3 courses. So you have to take an introductory micro or macroeconomics along with 2 public policy courses. Those are Policy 100, which is a survey of the most relevant topics concerning public policy in Canada and globally, and then policy 200 or poll 253, which go through how policy actually gets made, what it is, why it matters. And all of these courses are being offered in spring 2026. And as of this morning, there are still seats available in all of them. Once you have gotten a C minus grade or better in these three courses, you're eligible to declare into the public policy minor by just sending me an email. There are then two required upper division courses that make up 8 of those 30 required units. Policy 300 is what it says on the tin. It's applied public policy analysis, so learning how to define a public policy problem, its causes, identify and evaluate some other options or alternatives, and then how to draft a brief to provide effective advice to decision makers. You then take the learnings from policy 300W and apply them in policy 400, which is our capstone seminar, where you get to work in a team on an actual policy problem that is identified by a government or a not-for-profit partner. And just a note, policy 401 can be used in lieu of 400. This is a special topics course that's shared along with the graduate students, in which you also undertake a policy analysis of a given issue. And past topics include the roots of race, racism, and racial equity within public policy. And this semester, it is on health policy. So, as mentioned earlier, there are 30 overall units required in the minor. You get to complete 17 or 18 of them through the required courses, which in effect leaves you with 12 to 13 remaining. And with those remaining credits, you get to build a pathway around your interests. So a minimum of 8 of these credits need to be at the upper division, or in effect, 2 4-unit courses or 3 3-unit courses. And just a note that these are not able to be applied to another major or minor program, but can be for a certificate. So, for example, if you're doing the ethics certificate, you can apply Phil 329 to both the certificate and the public policy minor, but you could not also apply it to a philosophy major. So outside of those upper division units, you're left with 1 to 2 courses at any level. At the lower division, however, those 100 and 200 level classes, you can apply those units to more than one program. So for example, if you're a political science major, you may well have taken political science 221 and or 222 anyway, and you can actually apply those to the public policy minor as well. Same goes for criminology students, where you have to take Crim 131 and 135, both of which can be applied to the overall 30-unit requirement in the public policy minor. It's also quite possible that you have taken some of the courses as electives from the list. So courses within the public policy minor span a number of departments from criminology to economics, gender, sexuality, and women's studies, Indigenous studies, international studies, labor studies, philosophy, political science, sociology, and anthropology. And just a note is if there's a course with a policy focus that's not listed, we obviously cannot capture every single course around the university. But if there's a course that you feel should apply to public policy minor requirements, please send an email request my way and we'll take a look into it. I also should note you don't at all need to be in a Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences program to do the public policy minor. You're generally going to have plenty of room outside of your major to explore other areas. So here's our promised summary table, which hopefully makes things a little bit clearer. So you need to take Policy 100, one of Policy 200 or Pol 253, one introductory micro or macroeconomics course, and then it's Policy 300 and 400, then 2 or 3 upper division courses from the list, and 1 or 2 courses at any level. And again, you can double dip at those lower division courses. So essentially, you're looking at 8 to 10 courses overall for completing the public policy minor. So that's all from me for now. So before we get to some opportunity for questions and answers, I'll pass it to our current students here. So I think Sadie, you're here. I can see you're unmuting yourself. So yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself and go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation, Colin. Hello, everybody. My name is Sadie. I'm a fourth year student at SFU, so I'm majoring in sociology and minoring in public policy. So that means I'm kind of one of the first cohorts to graduate out of this public policy minor program, which is exciting. So I came into university actually not knowing what I wanted to do at all. And in my first year, I took a public policy course and was immediately intrigued because, especially as a sociology major student now, where I learn about the world and I learn about the issues the world has, I'm really grateful for the policy program in the sense of like providing a way to fix what I learn about in my major. So I find it really applied and relevant for especially thinking like towards future and career. So I've taken all my courses now for the minor. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer any questions. For Policy 400, I took it last year. I think I was the first class to do it, which was cool. So I was in a group. This is the one where you do a seminar as well as a capstone project. So I got to work with the Federal Public Service actually and worked on a project with a group about increasing descriptive representation in the Canadian Federal Public Service, which was awesome. And that's a really great course as well because you do a project that can actually be put on your CV or resume. Um, what else? What interests me about the program, I guess the fact that it goes with actually any major. That's another great thing about taking all the policy courses is I've made friends in multiple other programs, which is great. So now I'm looking towards grad school. I'm actually applying right now. And I find that the public policy program has given me a lot of like real life experience as well as like experience in writing policy briefs is very important. I've also, through this program, been able to work as a research assistant in the Restructure Lab, which is a part of the School of Public Policy. And I'm really enjoying that hands-on research experience where I'm working with the amazing faculty and getting a lot of experience researching and working more hands-on with policy issues. I was also able to be a part of the Public Policy Student Association, which I think someone else is going to speak about after, which is another great opportunity for students if you want to make friends or be more close with the student community. And yeah, please ask me any questions. And if there are any questions, I can send my email out as well. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Sanya.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sadie. Yeah, it sounds already like you've um, gotten the full experience of what the public policy minor brings. So that's awesome. My name is Sonia Shinasa. I am a second year student majoring in international studies program and also hopefully minoring in the public policy minor. Um, Honestly, the reason I initially got involved with Public Policy Student Association, the student union for public policy, was Jason, who was an former executive member alongside Sadie. And honestly, his passion and his interest for this minor was super contagious. And so obviously applying for an executive position was nerve-wracking, but also very, very rewarding as our team has grown exponentially. We have right now 13 executives members in our student union. So it's really amazing to see all the great work that we're striving for and also the past events that we've done. Some of the events that we've actually done was a lot more heavily focused on outreaching, just to getting our name out there, showing that this student association actually exists, since a lot of people don't even know about the public policy minors since it's such a new thing. And yeah, so doing a lot of boothing for more departmental events, like the introductory events for different majors. So that's been really nice. So that picture that you see here, we were doing a boothing event for Fast Fusion. And then also we've done a few social or executive socials just so that we can really build that team building factor and just get to know each other since we are working with each other a lot. And I think like really the benefits of it, like Sadie mentioned, is just getting a group of individuals where we're also in the similar classes, but also, you know, a close friendship and bond that has been built out of it. So that has been really special. And hopefully, as you can see, all the smiling faces. It's been really fun. We've also done a lot of study sessions, collaborations with the International Studies Student Association as well. So I think collabing has really helped put our name out there as well. What else have we done? We've also done our first event for the winter semester, which was a movie night. So we watched Superman, and then we kind of analyzed it after for all the policy implements that were within the movie. We talked a lot about migration and borders, what borders mean, nation states, all these really niche, interesting topics. And the conversation really grew somewhere else, but than what we initially hoped. But that was the whole point. It was quite interesting to see all the different perspectives and hear everyone's opinion on the movie. So that was really nice to have kind of like a pop culture moment, but also going into the more like nitty-gritties of what are the underlying political agendas and themes of the movie, which was really fun. Our future events, so our semester, when definitely it's not the spring semester. We are focusing a lot more, again, as well as outreach, but also more bigger events. So we're bringing back the career panel that they did last year. So bringing on different current policy analysts that are working in the government right now, and then getting a chance to kind of do a Q&A style career panel where individuals can come and ask questions about what they're doing, their experience trajectory, all these important factors. And then also we want to do a lot more tabling, again, getting our name out there because that's still important. We're also hoping to do a lot more Q&A style. So bringing different MPs, different MLAs. Right now we have MP Jake Swartzky, who is the MP for New West, and then also Rohini Aurora, who is the MLA for Burnaby. So those are confirmed for next semester, and we're really excited to get a chance to talk to these individuals, get a sense of what their experience also was like, their post-secondary trajectory and how they got to where they are today, and then also kind of the things that they're working on right now, if they can disclose it. Yeah, just like Sadie mentioned, I would also love if you guys had any questions. Also, I can post my email in the chat, but on our PPSA Instagram, which is linked, I believe, in that QR code just below the screen, we also have introductory posts. So if you want a more personal question, feel free to just click on that tag on those introductory posts and shoot me a DM as well. But I would love to see more individuals coming into the Public Policy Student Association. It's really rewarding what we're doing, and also you make lots of fun friends. Yeah, thanks so much.
As Colin mentioned, everyone, my name is Mikhael. I am your co-op career advisor for those students who are within the arts and social sciences and the communications program. So if you haven't had the opportunity to meet me yet, no worries. We can hopefully have an opportunity to do so in the future. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be chatting about in the time we have left. So you're going to get an idea of what the basics of the co-op is, why you should potentially consider doing a co-op, the requirements and fees, fun stuff, and then the next steps if you're really interested in pursuing a co-op, okay? So, co-op basics. You can think of your co-op, if you've never heard of it before, as your opportunity to actually integrate your academic studies with practical work experience. Because again, you could potentially get that opportunity to work in the government, and now you're seeing how what you learned in the classroom can actually be applied, right? Next, keep in mind that your co-op is basically available to all undergrad students, regardless of your faculty. So once you're in a program, there's more than likely a co-op opportunity for you, okay? This one here, when you're applying to the co-op, you want to keep in mind that you are kind of committing to doing at least 3 full co-op work terms. We can have a conversation about what this looks like because depending on the time in your academic journey when you apply, you may feel like you're kind of on a crunch in terms of how much time you have left. So come into it with the intention of doing at least three. If you feel like, Mikhael, it's kind of tight, we can have a conversation, okay? You get access to our co-op job portal. So you definitely can focus on those jobs that are directly aligned with whatever it is you are currently studying. However, you can also get opportunities to see what other postings are available in other faculties and other programs. So maybe you come in the public policy route. However, maybe you see something in engineering or even possibly business that interests you. And because you have access to that portal, you can actually apply to all of those jobs, okay? You get paid, folks. So minimum of $20 to $27 per hour. And I think this is just a great opportunity for students because I think studying can always be challenging. So having a few extra dollars in your pocket can make this a little bit easier. Please excuse me. And in terms of our intakes, all of our co-op intakes align with the different semester as at SFU. My apologies. So that's January, May, and September. So you've learned a little bit about the co-op basics. Now, let's talk a little bit about how this potentially benefits you as a student. So definitely, again, you get paid, right? You're not working for free. So this is something good to keep in mind. Really important here, you get an opportunity to really develop hands-on work-related skills. As I mentioned before, employers, in addition to your academics, they want to see other skills. They want to see your ability to exercise diplomacy. They want to see your ability to actually communicate well. They want to see your ability to handle challenging situations. Your co-op is your opportunity to practice all of these even before you actually enter the workforce. So as opposed to, in addition to also developing work-related skills, you get to develop specific career-related skills. So we're going to take you through the process of learning how to write a good resume, learning how to write a good cover letter, doing your interview prep, and that is all done through various one-on-one coaching sessions with myself or some of the other individuals in our department. This one here is one that I personally swear by. If having a good resume is like 80% important, I would say being able to develop a professional network is like 85, 90% in terms of importance. With your co-op, because you're actually going to be in an actual business place, you get the opportunity to start developing your own professional network. Sometimes it can be a bit challenging when you actually enter the workforce to actually get a job. What helps is if you have a network that can say, you know what, I can personally vouch for this person. I think you should have a conversation with them. Your co-op is your opportunity to start perfecting this specific skill set. So I'm also a former international student, and there are a lot of restrictions for international students when it comes to work being a student, right? With your co-op, you can actually work full time, okay? You're not restricted to what IRCC currently has for students. I believe it could be 20 to 24 hours. You get to bypass that and actually do full-time paid work experience that can be very valuable because you're now starting to get that Canadian work experience that a lot of employers are looking for when they're looking at some of the international people, okay? Lastly, you get an opportunity to test drive a career. This is important, it's in bold because imagine that you start doing something in your co-op work term. You're doing it for 2 weeks and you realize, oh wow, I really thought I would have liked this, but it's not what I thought. You don't have to stick with that career anymore. You can finish out your co-op, take your learnings back to the classroom, and you can pivot. Maybe you look at a different opportunity within the same program, or maybe you're in a situation where you switch altogether, but you get to do this within a very controlled environment. So, an idea of what some of the employers can actually look like. So at the provincial level, we have the BC Ministry of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation. We have the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Citizen Services, BC Hydros, WorkSafe, the Vancouver Airport Authority, and Downtown Surrey Business Improvement Association. At the federal level, we have the fisheries, we have IRCC, we have the Public Health Agency, and even Transport Canada. So you are not only confined within the province of BC. As Ali mentioned, you could even be in a situation where you're offered an opportunity to make a little bit of a switch to, let's say, Ottawa and see how things are done there for one co-op term, okay? In terms of specific job information, the Vancouver area is fair game, Calgary is fair game, Victoria, Ottawa, as we mentioned before. Your work arrangement can be either remote, you can opt to do a relocation, even be out of town, right? And then in terms of specific job titles, you can have roles that focus on research, data analysis, policy analysis, program coordination, evaluation, consultations, and even strategic planning, okay? So we have all of this amazing information. We know the basics. We know what the employers are saying. Now we want to kind of keep in mind what are the requirements for the program. So as I mentioned before, come in with the aim of committing to at least 3 work terms. If you realize that things are getting tight time-wise, let's have a conversation, okay? We can always talk about things and see exactly how we can fit this into your academic plan. Various programs have various requirements when it comes to the CGPA requirements for the program. Within arts and social sciences and communications, we're specifically looking for someone that has at least a 2.4 CGPA at the time of application. So this can change, but just to get into the program, you have to have that 2.4. To do your first work term, you would have had to have maintained or increased your CGPA. So it's also open to individuals who are undeclared or declared, doesn't matter for us. In terms of your fees, there is a one-term application fee, and this fee varies from domestic to international. So as a domestic, you're paying about $155. As an international, you're paying $454. So this is your one-time application fee, okay? That's different from your co-op work term fee. So you have to pay the application fee to get in. Your work term fee, you only pay this once you would have secured an actual job opportunity. So once you get that opportunity, that's when we actually bill you. We don't bill you before. So in terms of next steps, reach out to us if you want more information, if you feel like you need more support. This link, I'm also going to drop it in the chat in a sec. It can also take you to our drop-in advising sessions, and we can have a chat about it then every Tuesday and Friday. Think about applying to your co-op during your first or second year. So ideally, when you're in that sweet spot of about 30 units to about 75 units, that's when you want to actually submit your application, or we can have a chat. Apply 2 semesters before. So ideally, what this means, or what I would encourage you to do, is first plan when you see yourself doing your first work term. So when you're actually doing the job, decide when that's going to be for you. A lot of students typically like to target the summer. So if you're targeting summer, let's say summer 2026, you want to apply 2 terms before that. So not spring 2026, but actually right now during the fall term. So apply in fall, you look for your job in the spring. Once you get your job in the spring, you work in the subsequent summer term. If you are looking for that summer, well, not summer actually, because that's already gone, but your next or the soonest you can actually do your first work term, just based on our application cycle, would be the fall of 2026. So to do that, you're going to be applying anytime from now to 2 of these deadlines here. So you can either apply between now and January 4th or February 22nd, and this puts you in line to actually do your first work term in the fall of 2026. Cool. So I know that was a lot of information. It was a bit of a quick rundown, but do we have any questions? I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. Or actually, let's go to this slide first. So if you need any additional support, any additional information, you can email me at acccoop@sfu.ca. Colin would have already shared his email address, and you can also scan this QR code to get more PPM specific information, okay? So I'll keep this up for a few seconds, and then I'll stop sharing just to check and see if we have any questions.